Thank you for tuning into my channel. I will be sharing podcasts on a regular basis that will let you experience the Feldenkrais method via awareness through movement lessons. In the lessons, I will talk you through all the steps. You listen and do at the same time. The lessons are designed to improve ability and reduce effort in movement. The speed of an exercise should always be adjusted to your breathing rhythm. For the lesson, always find a place where you can lie down comfortably and wear clothing that doesn't interfere with your movements and breathing. Also, take a rest whenever you want to. There will be plenty of rests in the lessons, but if you need more, please do. The lessons have been recorded live while teaching a class. Hey everybody! So this is a lesson of Mr. Wildman and it's called Baby Alligator. And we start resting on our back with a scan. So rest on your back. And just feel your contact with the floor. Have your arms resting on the floor beside you and your legs long. And sometimes if you close your eyes, you'll be able to get a better feel for how you're resting on the floor. Notice which of your shoulder blades seems flatter or lower to the floor, or maybe more spread out or wider. And is there a difference in the size of your two hips? Is one side of your pelvis maybe flatter or larger? Or is it simply pressed more into the floor? And what is the highest point of your body from the floor? Like if the ceiling were to lower down and touch the highest point of your body, what part of the body would the ceiling come in contact with first? Your nose? Or your chest? Your stomach maybe? Or your toes? So now slowly we roll to your front. So you're resting on your belly. And let your legs be comfortably apart and long. Put your left hand down to your side, so near your hip. And turn your face to look to the right, so that you can see your right hand and arm at the height of your shoulder. So your right arm is kind of like just straight, also resting on the floor for now. So it's kind of like from your nose straight forward. And now bend your right elbow and stand your right hand as if you were going to do a push-up with your right elbow in the air. And now feel that hand and place it somehow that it's in a firm spot on the floor. And since your head is turned to that side, you can see your hand easily and see that there's a distance between your right shoulder and your right hand. So that if you were to drop a line from the inside of your right elbow straight down to the floor, your hand would be further away from your shoulder than that line. Make sure you have a sizable gap between your right hand and the shoulder. And now lift your right shoulder toward the ceiling. And then set it back down, making sure you set the shoulder back down completely so the muscles can rest. And go back and forth this way a few times. And feel how your shoulder slides back toward your spine. And then it slides forward away from your spine. And see if you can have your head resting on the floor the whole time. And maybe the movement is a lot smaller. But see if your head can stay resting on the floor as you move your shoulder blade up and down, forward and back. And the next time you lift your shoulder, push down with your hand and straighten your right elbow. Making sure your hand stays in the same place. And feel how your shoulder slides even further back toward your spine. And notice the further back it slides, the more your elbow can straighten. And do it a few times. And leave it. Rest on your stomach with your head in a comfortable position. Now again, stand your right hand as before. And maybe you put it in the same place, or maybe you try another place. It's up to you. You can see whatever suits you best. And also during, when you've realized it's not comfortable, change the placement of your hand at any time. And now again. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. So now you stand your right hand again at the comfortable distance. And now aim your fingers to the right. If you didn't have them already to the right, they're all aiming to the right, and spread them wide apart so that you can feel your whole hand and all of your fingers on the floor. And now with your with your elbow pointing directly toward the ceiling, continue to glide your shoulder blade toward and away from your spine. Make sure your hand doesn't move, but stays on the spot you chose for it. And you keep your fingers pointing away from yourself and your hands spread wide, if you had a claw. So you straighten the elbow and you make the shoulder blade move toward the spine and then back again. See if you can straighten the elbow. What would happen? Maybe your hand needs to be further away from your body, so you can straighten the elbow so that the shoulder blade can glide over the ribs in the direction of the spine. And back again. And rest for a moment with your arm down. Well, now again, stand your right hand with your fingers pointing to the right. And now roll your right hip off the floor a little bit. And draw your right knee up so that the inside of your right leg is on the floor. So you roll your right hip off the floor and you draw your right knee up so the inside of your right leg is on the floor. And then you slide your right knee back down. And do this a few times. So you're leaning on your right hand. You roll your right pelvis a little bit off the floor. And then you pull your knee up. And then you bring your knee back down again. And it stays on the floor, it's sliding. And as you slide your knee up, make sure your right foot stays on the floor, so that your right leg is pulled along by the power of your hip flexors. And you don't need to strain or do any work with the foot, if you can. Lower your right knee until your leg is long and your foot goes straight down to where it began. And each time you slide your right knee up, lower your head and notice the big gap under your right elbow, between your right hand and your shoulder. And look down to see your knee coming up, as though you were curious to read some message written there on the knee. And then when you bring the knee back down again, you also bring your head back to the beginning position. And leave it and rest for a moment on your stomach. And if that's really uncomfortable, you can always roll to your side. And just notice how you're resting, how's your breathing. Now slowly roll to your back. And notice how you're resting on your back. Have your arms alongside you on the floor and your legs long. And feel the difference between your two sides. Notice the difference between the two shoulders and if that changed, and between your two hips. Is part of you more expanded? Which side of your body feels younger? Slowly roll onto your stomach again. Now this time, put your right arm down near your hip on the floor. Turn your face to the left. And without moving, imagine the ideal place to stand your left hand. Just imagine it. And remember, it's an experiment. Imagining will allow your brain to map out the coordinates of the movement. And once you have imagined it clearly, bend your left elbow and stand your left hand. And your legs are still long and a comfortable distance apart. Now aim your fingers away from yourself to the left. Spread them apart easily so that your hand feels wide. Make sure your elbow is in the air, pointing toward the ceiling. And again, before you begin moving, find a good distance between your left hand and shoulder, so that as your left shoulder blade pulls back over your ribcage towards your spine, you can get your elbow completely straight without having to move your hand. So first, see. Your left elbow is pointing in the air. And before you start to begin moving, find a good distance between your left hand and shoulder, so that your left shoulder blade, as it pulls back over the rib cage, you can get your elbow completely straight without having to move your hand. And you will feel your ribs yielding as you feel your shoulder moving left and right. And again, see if you can have your head resting on the floor. And imagine the movement a few times, and then practice pulling your shoulder blade back until your left elbow straightens. So you've imagined it and now you're trying to do it. And then you release it again, back to the beginning. Make sure your hand doesn't move, but repeat it a few times. So you straighten your elbow and you feel your shoulder blade sliding over your ribs at the back, closer toward the spine. And you don't have to go all the way, just feel when it's easy, and when it's not easy anymore, come back to the beginning. And the next time you slide your shoulder blade back toward your spine and straighten your left elbow, keep your arm straight. And now easily start to roll your pelvis a little bit left and right. So slowly, as your arm is straight and your shoulder blade is closer toward the spine on the left side, keep the arm there and easily start to roll your pelvis left and right. And observe how your pelvis and your rib cage can move underneath your shoulder. It might be only a little movement, but a little movement is also a movement. And remember, in order for the shoulder blade to return, your elbow bends so that your hand doesn't have to move. And let go of the movement and rest your elbow on the floor. And now, still resting on your front, roll your pelvis to the right so that the left side of the hips lifts off the floor. And feel the softness in the back of your left knee each time you roll. So you roll the pelvis to the right so that the left hip lifts off the floor a little bit, and then you roll it back again. And feel the softness in the back of your left knee each time you roll. Don't draw your knee up yet. Just observe that the knee has a tendency to begin bending as you roll, and that the beginning of pulling the knee up lies in the way that you organize your back and your pelvis. And let go of the rolling and rest however you like. Now still have your right arm down near your hip. Your face is turned to the left. And now stand on your left hand again with your fingers facing to the left and the elbow in the air. And find the most comfortable place for your hand where you can push the most with your hand if you need to. And now roll your pelvis so that your left hip comes off the floor and slide the inside of your left knee up, closer toward your waist. And then slide it back down again. And making sure your left foot stays on the floor as well. And do this several times. So you roll your hip so the left side comes off the floor. And then your knee comes up. And you use your hand to help. And as your knee comes up, begin to bring your head down, as though to read a cryptic message on the left knee. And then slowly come back again, bring the head back again to the beginning position as you slide your leg down. And try to go slow and without strain. And when is it best for you to breathe out? Is it easier to breathe out when your knee comes up and you're looking at your knee? Or does it make more sense to you to breathe out when you stretch, lengthen your leg and stretch your knee and bring your head back? Just notice, what do you prefer? Try both. And to relieve your neck each time your leg straightens, turn it a little bit to the right. And see if that helps, relieving the neck. And let the whole movement be lighter and easier each time, until it feels smooth enough to imagine that you're doing it with almost no friction, as though on ice or a sheet of glass covered with oil. How would you organize your body to make it that simple? There's no restrictions. And let go of the movement. Roll over and rest on your back, with your arms alongside you on the floor and your legs long. And observe whether new parts of yourself feel flatter on the floor or more expanded. And take a moment to feel what's changed in your body. Roll onto your stomach again. With your legs comfortably apart. And now stand both hands on the floor, with both elbows pointing toward the ceiling. And your fingers are still spread apart, facing away from you. And now put your forehead on the floor. And he calls this the alligator position, hence the name of the lesson. And now draw your right knee and your head toward each other, so that your head is looking underneath your right elbow at your knee. And then straighten the right knee as you draw the left knee and your head toward each other on the other side. And alternate this way a few times. So draw your right knee and your head is turning so it can look underneath your right elbow at your knee. Then you straighten the right knee, you draw the left knee up, and your head looks toward the left knee underneath the left elbow. And again, go slow and easy and lazy, like an alligator. They move really slow and easy. But in their slowness, there's all this power that they can be so fast. And let go of this movement. And slowly roll to your back and rest with your arms and legs long. And observe the sensations in your chest and in your ribs and in your back. Slowly come to your stomach again, to your front. And your legs are comfortably apart, long on the floor. You stand both hands with both elbows pointing toward the ceiling. And your fingers are spread apart, facing away from yourself. You put your forehead on the floor again. And I slide your right shoulder blade backward to straighten your right elbow as you roll your head to face right and draw up your right knee. So you slide your right shoulder blade backward toward the spine to straighten your right elbow. And as you do that, you roll your head to face to the right and draw your right knee up. And as you straighten your right leg, simultaneously roll your head to face left and pull up the left knee and straighten your left elbow. And then go to the other side again. Try it a few times. So slide your right shoulder blade toward the spine to straighten your right elbow as you roll your head to face right and draw your right knee up. And then as you straighten your right leg, simultaneously you roll your head to face left, straighten your left elbow so your left shoulder blade is going closer toward the spine as you bring your left knee up. Pause and rest on your stomach in any way that's comfortable. Now return to the alligator position So that's the one where you are with your forehead resting on the floor. Your both hands are on the floor and your elbows are in the air toward the ceiling, and your fingers are pointing away from you. And now slowly look up toward the ceiling and feel your back begin to extend as you straighten both elbows. So you slowly look up toward the ceiling. You feel your back begin to extend, and you look up by straightening your both elbows. So how would you do that? And then you come back down again. And look up and down several times, feeling the integration of the muscles of your pelvis and your back with those of your shoulders and arms. And make sure that you place your hands in a position that it's easy and nothing is working too hard. So you can place your hands in various positions just to see how it gets lighter. Maybe further away from your body, a little bit further forward. See, how can everything work together and not just only a little bit of you? So maybe, I don't know, play with it. Maybe you don't find it straight away. You can always practice more. And as you look up, let your head and chest lift off the floor. And feel the parts of your body peeling off the floor in a neat sequence. And then put them down again, part by part. So what goes off the floor first and what comes down first? Go up and down like this several times. Slowly lower yourself back to the floor with your hands in a firm position. And let go of the movement. Slowly lower yourself back to the floor with your hands still in a firm position. And now lift your head to look out beyond yourself and slowly draw your left knee up. You did it before. So you lift your head to look out beyond yourself and slowly draw your left knee up. So you look out beyond yourself to the left, over your left shoulder, as you draw your left knee up. Can you look over your left shoulder all the way to see your feet? And then slowly lower your left leg and look over your right shoulder as you draw your right knee up. And see if you can see your right foot. And then alternate, drawing one knee up and then the other. As you turn your head to look over one shoulder toward your foot and then slowly go back down through the middle, pull up the other knee and look over the other shoulder toward that foot. And really look over your shoulder. So not in between your arms anymore, but over your shoulder this time. And let go of the movement and rest a few moments on your back. And just scan your body. How does your left side compare to your right side? How flat is your body? How expanded? How alive? And do you have the feeling you worked hard? What could you do next time to work less hard? to be more sweet and nice to yourself. To be this like swaggy alligator that doesn't make any effort to move, only when there's a prey that it can catch. Now slowly, whenever you're ready, roll to your side and come to standing. And take a little time to notice whether you turn more easily and whether your chest feels more elevated. Do you feel wider? Maybe it's easier to stand straight. Just notice. And maybe something else stands out. Thanks for joining this lesson.